Welcome to People Skills, featuring a human male named Joe. Here we see the young millennial male discussing an ongoing work project with a friend over lunch, when suddenly he's presented with a dilemma.
Dave has something in his teeth. It'll probably come out on its own.
You know, I'm supposed to have that tough conversation with Tom, and I'm just not sure, like, do I really need to, or should I just kind of wait and see what happens?
Man, it's really in there. Should I tell him? Maybe I should.
What do you think?
Yeah, you should tell him what you see.
I really should tell him. He's gonna look so stupid.
Think so? Okay, great. Awesome, man. I feel so stupid.
This is the male's final chance to represent his species well.
When he finds out, he's gonna know that I know. He's gonna know I didn't tell him.
Hey, Tom.
Hey, wait a second.
Well, Joe, you really suck. Join us next time for People Skills to see our millennial male yet again attempt to be a human being.
Well, hey, welcome to Crossroads. I'm Lena Schuler, and I'm the Crossroads Anywhere Community Pastor, and we're in the midst of a series right now where we're looking at what does it mean to have good friendships that last. And so we're gonna dive into that in just a few minutes, but before that, we're gonna spend time worshiping together, which is simply putting prayers to music. And so why don't you stand up wherever you are, turn up the music a little bit louder, and sing with us.
Rejoice is won the battle for the saints. Rejoice because all heaven knows your name. Rejoice that sin is powerless today. Sing hallelujah, what a Savior. Rejoice because He chose to make us kings. Rejoice because your life has been redeemed. Rejoice because He lives in you and me. Sing hallelujah, what a Savior. It is finished, it is done. Heaven's love poured out on us. Separated, now we're one. Sing hallelujah, what a Savior. Rejoice because the kingdom is at hand. Rejoice because His peace will rule the land. Rejoice because our God became a man. Sing hallelujah, what a Savior. It is finished, it is done. Heaven's love poured out on us. Separated, now we're one. Sing hallelujah, what a Savior, yeah. Today's the day He's made. I'm gonna rejoice, yeah, I'll be glad in it. I'm lifting my voice. Today's the day He's made. I'm gonna rejoice, yeah, I'll be glad in it. I'm lifting my voice. Today's the day He's made. I'm gonna rejoice, yeah, I'll be glad in it. I'm lifting my voice. Today's the day He's made. I'm gonna rejoice, yeah, I'll be glad in it. I sing hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. prisoner without a kingdom. I was an orphan with no home. These lungs were full of promise, but emptiness I chose. Oh, the power, unending power of Jesus' blood that washes white as snow. Oh, 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 the power, amazing power of redeeming love. This grace unshakable. Yeah. Trading slavery for sonship. I'm trading shackles for the keys. My inheritance, the kingdom, where my Father is the King. And oh, the power, unending power of Jesus' blood that washes white as snow. Oh, the power, amazing power of redeeming love. This grace unshakable. With grateful hearts, we sing. You are the way to life and freedom. Yeah, you are the truth that can't be shaken. Oh, you are the rock of my salvation. So I'm singing, oh, the power of Jesus' blood. You are the way to life and freedom. Yes, you are. You are the truth that can't be shaken. Oh, yeah, you are the rock of my salvation. So I'm singing, oh, the power of Jesus' blood. And so the power, unending power of Jesus' blood that washes white as snow. Oh, the power, amazing power of redeeming love. This grace unshakable. 'Cause you are the way to life and freedom. You are the truth that can't be shaken. Oh, you are the rock of my salvation. So I'm singing, oh, the power, and oh, the power, oh, the power of Jesus' blood.
I love this time of the week where we get to worship together as a whole church through music. And actually, I love that I get to worship using Crossroads music in my car, in the kitchen, in my cubicle, in my living room, by just heading to Spotify or iTunes Music or even YouTube to get the Crossroads Music original songs at any point during the week. And you could do that too. By the way, happy Mother's Day to all of you moms out there. I'm a mom, I have a baby at home, and I will tell you there are lots of sleepless nights, tons of diapers, and not enough hours in the day. And if you are a mom, we just wanna say thank you. I'm thankful for my mom. I know all of us are for all of the work that you've put in. And I know that it can be hard work and rewarding work. And so we just want to share this little creative piece with you to just tell you how much we appreciate you as a mom.
Cleaning crumbs up off the floor for at least the 50 millionth time or more, but hey, it is what it is. The little ups, the little downs, your belly laughs and pathetic pouts. You know that I was born for this. I choose you again and again for memories of remember when for lows and crazy no sweet highs. Whatever it takes just to be with you and all the illogical things you do. I love my hashtag mom. But believe me when I say this is the absolute last time I am coming in here. You guys have got to go to sleep. No, we're done. We're not doing this. Good night. Or actually, I'm not obligated to make you another dinner. The dinner I made you is fine, and you can either eat it or go to bed hungry. You didn't even try it. I never thought I'd write a song where I sound exactly like my mom. Yep, I see the irony. Anyway, here's the thing, you'll never know what you mean to me. I love you times infinity. I choose you again and again for memories of remember when for lows and crazy no sweet highs. Whatever it takes just to be with you and all the nonsensical things that you do. I love my hashtag mom life. Oh yes, I love my hashtag mom life. Oh yes, I love my hashtag mom life.
Well, moms, I hope that you enjoyed that piece. I know it's always fun for me to see. And I'm so excited because next weekend is Go Local, which is the one weekend a year that our entire church goes out and we bless the communities that we live in. Because we actually believe that Jesus calls us to be the church, not just sit in a room and watch some good teaching together or sing some songs together, but he actually tells us to go and be the church and bless the communities that we live in and the people that we do life with day in and day out. And so that's what we're doing next week as a whole church. All of our physical locations will be closed for the weekend because as a church, we're going to be outside of our buildings in the neighborhoods that we live in, work in, play in, doing projects to bless those around us. And so if you're in Seattle, Washington, we're serving a homeless community. If you are in Columbus, we're gonna be working to put on a fundraiser for a local rec center to be able to have better and more activities for kids in the summer when they're out of school to actually experience friendship and experience their neighborhoods. It's going to be amazing. And so we've got projects happening all over the country. You can head to crossroads.net/go-local to see if there's a project near you. And if there's not, maybe just pick a person or a family or an organization that could use a little extra love next week and do something special for them by being the church for them. You know, one of the things that marks us as a church is that we are generous. And we're not just generous with our time or our talent, but also with our treasure. And over the years, I have spent a lot of money on stupid things. One time I bought a $500 pair of prescription sunglasses that just 9 months later, I somehow managed to lose. Stupid, so stupid. Nevertheless, I actually have learned that it is way better to invest my money in things that last. And one of the things that last is when people come into a relationship with Jesus and their lives are changed. And we actually have a story of that happening. And if you want to give and be part of investing your money in something that matters, you can head to crossroads.net/give and let's check out this story of life change.
My name's Wilbur, and I go to Crossroads Uptown. So I came to Cincinnati summer of 2017 to work at Procter & Gamble. Moving up here was hard for me. I didn't really know many people up here. And one of the important things that Dad instilled in me the first weekend when he moved me in was finding a church home. And he actually went with me my first weekend to Crossroads. And I went and I loved it. And then work sent me out for 3 months on a rotational program. When I came back, I was kind of felt off balance and I didn't get replugged back in. That kind of led to a lot of lacking in community. Like I continued just like going to bars and just going out and having very surface level friendships. And I actually had a friend take me to Crossroads Uptown again. The service was amazing. And at the end, Josh Wade, the community pastor, invited people upstairs who were ready to dig in more. And that's where I got introduced to Andy Ray. He became my pod leader in young adults. And that Wednesday I went to young adults and the community was there. It was instant. This is my core group. This is my family that I have up here. They were all there for me when I started making changes in my life that led to my baptism to come out, and that community was just sitting there waiting for me and hugging me, and it was amazing. And then Easter, everyone came over and I had Easter dinner being away from my family, but there's a lot of us in the pod that are away from our families, and being able to commune together, eat together, and celebrate the resurrection of Jesus, that was an amazing time. And I want to say thank you to those out there who choose to give generously to Crossroads, to give us campuses like Crossroads Uptown, where I found my home and community, family, and people who drive me to the purpose that God has for my life. And just thank you.
I don't think I'll ever grow weary of hearing a story, because I'm genuinely interested in the lives that God creates and what happens inside of us. And so I'm really excited today to talk about how we can build relationships and the key of being interesting and interested. And of course, aren't we all just thankful and interested with our mothers? Let's thank all the moms again in here today. Happy Mother's Day weekend. You as mom have some major skills. We're not going to talk about mom skills today. We're going to talk about general people skills. Let's pray before I go any further. God, you are you're a God that is always in possession of more that we need. You have more than we want. You have stuff in your mind that I want to get inside of all of our minds. Would you help us today? Would you draw us closer to you, no matter where we are in our understanding of you or our desire to serve you? Would you pull us closer to you and help us to have the things that we need to have a life with people that works? And I pray these things according to the character and identity of Jesus. Amen. Well, you know, when we start talking about people are very interesting entities. I don't know if you recognize it or not, but people are interesting. That's the big idea. I want us to all to be interesting, and I want us to be interested. That's the big idea. You need to be interesting, and you need to be interested. You know, the thing about being around a person, though, is there's always a reason to be interested. Because when you're around a person, you're as close as you're going to get to getting to God. What do you think about that? I'll say it again. When you're around a person, you're as close as you're going to get to getting close to God. Why is that? It's because people are the one entity that is created in the image of God. You can get closer to God by looking at a person than you can looking at a tree, because people, more than a tree or a rhinoceros, says something about God. I love getting out in nature. I love it. But if I want to understand something about God, I've got to understand a person. See, all of us, we reflect something about God to each other. Like if you know me, you'll know something about God that you won't know because you know me. And if I know you, I'll know something about God that I don't know because I know you. Each one of us, none of us fully and completely reflect who God is. But all of us have aspects of God that are uniquely in us. So when we have people in our lives, we get the right people in our lives, we not only have a great, fulfilling friendship life, but we get more of God. That's why I find God so fascinating. I can never learn too much about God. I never fully understand. I will never fully understand. I believe I'll be learning about God even when I'm in heaven on and into eternity because he's so vast and intricate and involved. And that's why when I'm around a person, man, I am fascinated to know who people are. They are a mystery to me, and I like mysteries. I just ran across an old TED Talk by J.J. Abrams of Lost fame, who created Lost. Lost was that amazing, amazing show until the end. It was awful. It was just amazing. Those of us who are following Game of Thrones were hoping that J.J. Abrams hasn't influenced Game of Thrones at all, that the end is not awful like Lost was. But in the day when Lost was still in its heyday, we were all like mesmerized by the mystery of it. What is this? What's this about? J.J. Abrams talked about that in this TED Talk. He actually has a box, and in this box, he bought this at a magic shop, and he says he intentionally keeps this box in his desk at his office because he likes having mystery around. He likes having something he's curious about. He's never opened the box. There's something cool about curiosity. I thought I was original. I have a box like that as well. It's right here. This box, I've never opened it. Actually, I did open it once, very briefly, but I forget what was in it. It was at a Crossroads tactile prayer experience that we had, where you would go into rooms, you experience things, and there was scriptures that was written as a message from God in here. There's a bunch of them. There was dozens of them. This one here is like, oh, this doesn't mean anything to me right now, but there's going to come a day when this is the exact message God has for me. So I put a lid on it, and I got one, and I put it in my office, and I don't know what's in here. I'm very curious to know what's in here. I know this is my doomsday box. Like if I'm really down, doobie-doo, down, this is where I go because that's the one I need to hear. So if you ever come to my office and this lid is off, you're like, oh no, this is not good. But I'm curious too. I want to know what's in here. Who wants to know what's in here? Well, maybe you should just look at it for a minute. No, you're not going to see it. I like curiosity, and you should too. In fact, I know you do. You know why? Because God's curious. Jesus, when he comes to earth, he is God who comes to earth, and Jesus is incredibly curious. He's incredibly interested in people around him, and this is what makes him interesting. We know a little about Jesus' life, really. We know a lot from age 30 to 33, which is when the first 4 books of the New Testament, the Gospels, are written, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. We know a lot about that 3-year period, from 30 to 33. We know a bit about when he was born. That's why Christmas is around, right? But between like circumcision and 30, we know like nothing virtually in here. There's only one scenario we see. We think when he was around 12 years old. His family was going into Jerusalem in this time of year. They were going to go and do sacrifices. They were going to the temple. And when that would happen, like the whole community would go. It takes a village. The whole village would go, and they go in caravans and everything. And they go in, and they do their business. And on their way back, they all come back together as a little village as they would have. And as this was happening, it wasn't like all the kids were in the car, all the kids were in the ox cart. And Mary's going, hey, where's Jesus back there? Where is he? No, they weren't like that. They were kind of hanging out in the community on the way back. So 3 days later, they realize that Jesus is not in the caravan on the way back home. A little stressful. Here's what it says in Luke 2:46. After 3 days, they found him in the temple, sitting among the teachers, who said to them, I am turning you into Child Protective Services. That's what someone said. Sitting among the teachers, listening to them and asking them questions. Mary and Joseph were like, wait a minute, where's Jesus? I thought he was with Bill and Stella Schwartz. Isn't he over there? No. Well, maybe he's with Bob and Judy Rosenblum. Maybe he's over with them. Jesus is Jewish, in case you didn't understand. Well, maybe he's over with them. No, they don't know where he is, and now they're in a frantic pace, get back. And where's Jesus? He's in the temple, and he's asking questions. He's asking questions. How many questions do you ask? Everybody has the capacity to be interested. And all it takes is asking questions that tells somebody that you're interested in them and that you find them interesting. Now, today I want to give you 3 skills to do this. 3 skills that's going to help you become interested and interesting. Because let's face it, if someone starts asking you questions, you need to be interesting. These are skills. These are skills that all people need to have, every single one. Interesting people and interested people are curious. Curious. They want to know what is underneath the veneer, what's behind the skin, what's behind the door. In the Fast Company article, it says this: the problem for many adults is that we stop being curious about new experiences and are instead focused on understanding what we've already been through. What is the last new thing that you learned? What's the last community college class you took for free just to learn a new thing? Or what's the last class you paid for? Have you ever taken scuba or woodworking? What is the last debate that you went and listened to fill your mind? What is the last new thing you try? What are you curious about? See, if we're not curious about something, we don't become interesting because we become stagnant and stale. When we have fresh experiences, fresh learnings, meet fresh people, we have fresh things to talk about. And when we don't have fresh things to talk about, then we really bog down in conversations and the friendship thing actually goes stale. It's not good. One of the things I did the last few years that was different for me, I took up motorcycling a number of years ago, in large part because it was new. I wanted to try something new. It's interesting, I'm not riding as much as I did before because I'm on to something else that's new. I'm still doing it, but just not as much as I was before. But one of the things I did was I went to this rally, this motorcycle rally. I'd never heard of this rally. I went to it was down the Smoky Mountains. And I went and, wow. Like, man, like I met these people who were into riding around the world. That's what they ride around. They literally live to ride. They get jobs just long. And by the way, when I say these people, I'm not talking about Harley Davidson, Hell's Angel people. No, I'm talking about people look like me, like normal or person around you. They get jobs. They're college-educated people, some of these folks. They get jobs, and they earn just enough money to fund the next 6 months of riding, and they go out and they ride, and then when their gas money's over and their food money's over, then they're done, then they get a job again. Like, what? So this one guy had this sidecar attached to his motorcycle. It's a motorcycle like mine. I know that they don't make sidecars for that. He invented it. He's doing this thing. It's like, why would you do that? Because I know it messes up the dynamics of a motorcycle, how it rides in corners and everything. I said, why would you do that? He said, well, because I wanted to ride with my wife. Like, so you and your wife, this is your thing. Like, you live to ride, and then you only work to put food on the table so you can ride. Yeah, that's what I do. And I met like dozens of these people. Like, blew my mind. Utterly blew my mind. There's a time where I would have said, well, you're just a loser. That's what you are. You're a loser. But now, at this point, when I got to know these folks, I'm going, what's in the box here? And it made me think as well. I thought, man, maybe my life is too much in the box. It like blew my mind of, wait, I actually could structure my life to do that. I'm not going to. I could structure, and I started asking myself, what are the assumptions about my life that I am believing in but aren't absolutely true? What are the flexibilities and options I have before me that am I just following a script with what I'm, it blew my mind. And I got to know that because I was asking questions. I was getting to know people who were around me. Now, I told you, we know all about Jesus in those first 4 books of the Bible. I'm going to give you a question. It's a very simple question. It's going to take you 1 second. You have to talk to somebody next to you for 1 second. That's all it is this time, okay? 1 second. How many questions do you think are recorded in the Bible of Jesus? How many times did Jesus ask a question? The first 4 books of the New Testament, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Find a number. Tell a person beside you right now. Go. All right, good. I said only 1 second. It was simple. But did you tell anybody? You did. Turn around. Turn around. Come on. This is people skill time. All right, good. Who else is going to get rat out on somebody else who didn't actually tell anybody? Anybody? All right. 307. 307 times the Bible records Jesus asking a question. Now, let me tell you this, if God is interested enough to ask questions, shouldn't you and I be a little better at it? 307 times. Now, sometimes these questions he asks are rhetorical. Sometimes these questions he asks are to get himself out of a bind because someone's painted him in a corner, so he asks a question just to kind of evade the difficult question they've given or the unanswerable question that they've given. But again and again and again, we see him asking questions. Let's take a look at some of them right now. And these questions you're seeing now, you could modify these questions to be interested in somebody else. Here's one. John 1:38. Jesus turned and saw them following him and saying, "What are you seeking? What are you seeking?" That'd be an interesting question sometime, at Crossroads maybe. See somebody in one of our atriums and just say, "Hey, why do you come here? What are you seeking?" I'm just curious. What is that? You could modify that question on a lot of different ways. You could ask anybody at some festival, what are you seeking? You don't have to use that one, but that's one of the ones that he used. Here's another one. What do you think? Matthew 21:20. What do you think? When I go to restaurants with my wife, my family will tell you this happens all the time. I'll go and I'll ask the server, I'll ask the waitress, well, what do you like here? What do you think? What do you like? I've already got my eye on something because I got my favorite 3 or 4 things. I'm already like, ooh, I'm on that. But I'm curious, like, what do you like? What do you think? I like to ask people what they think, even if I'm already solidified in my opinions, because it gives them an opportunity to talk, and maybe I'm wrong. 3, he says, who do people say the Son of Man is? What do they say? Here's one. This is a great one. What is it you want me to do for you? That's in Matthew 20:32. What do you want me to do for you? He comes up to a guy who's blind. He says, what do you want me to do for you? Really crazy question, right? Because first of all, are you being abusive to this guy? Why are you asking him this? Well, maybe this isn't the guy's biggest problem. We assume the blind people, the biggest problem is being blind. Blind people can have much worse problems than being blind. They can. So maybe he's asking for another problem. Maybe there's going to be something powerful that has to happen for the guy to answer and to say, we don't know, but I just love this. What is it you want me to do for you? And this is a great question to ask people. If you were before God and he gave you one question, what would it be? What would he do for you? If Jesus asked you that question, what do you want me to do for you? What would you want Jesus to do for you right now? You get one thing. There's no wrong answer to that. It would be a fascinating one. Would it be a healing? Would it be a reassurance? Would it be an amount of money? Would it be a relationship? Would it be a time period zone change where you would move someplace? Would it be, what is that answer will tell you something about the other person. Here's another one Jesus asks. He says, why are you so dull? I like that one. I doubt you should probably use that one if you want to build a friendship, but nonetheless, that's one of the questions. Why are you so dull? How about this? Do you want to get well? You know, there's a lot of people who don't want to get well. There's a lot of people who've grown quite comfortable being divorced and bitter. Thank you very much. And really have no interest in getting well. No. There's a lot of people who want to be perpetual spiritual seekers and never actually want to find. Do you want to get well? Do you want to get connected with the Creator or not? There's a lot of people who drag around with a ball and chain, the pains in their past, the problems in their past. Do you want to get well? When I have my back issues that were hurting me all the time, I ask myself, do I want to get well? Okay, if I want to get well, guess what? I'm going to have to start doing something different if I want to get well. Ask someone that. Do you want to get, some of us don't want to get well, and maybe there's a good reason that we don't want to change, we don't want to get well. We don't know unless we ask. Another one last one. Why does this generation ask for a miraculous sign? That's a good one. Why is it you think we're intrigued with miracles? Why is it that the Travel Channel is the mystic Travel Channel anymore? Why are we so wanting something otherworld? What do you think that is about us? We all want it. Why is it we all want it? Amazing questions. Now, Jesus is, we all know he's the most potent person who ever walked the planet. He's the only person we've dated time after, the only person who's had a movement that's been lasting, that's as wide-reaching as his. Amazing. It's not just because he was the greatest teacher ever, because there's things that are in our cultural nomenclature that were part of his teachings and we don't even know. It's not just because he was the greatest teacher ever. It's not just because when he rolled into town, it was the greatest show on earth that was coming with real, literal, physical miracles. It's not just that. You also considered, it's also because he's the most magnetic person who ever walked the planet. He's the person who the most people were drawn to and wanted to be around. He was the most interesting person people ever encountered, and he was the most interested person in people around him ever. How long would it take you to add up to 307 questions? How often do we do that? We don't. That's why we're not very magnetic, but he was. He was interesting and he was interested. The second people skill, beyond being curious, the second people skill is being committed. Interesting people are committed to something. People who have a life just like everybody else's aren't interesting because we understand them, we think, because they're just like us. But when you find somebody who's committed to something that other people aren't committed to, they become interested. The people I talked about with the riding around the world thing, they are committed and they were very, very interesting. Just meeting a motorcycle weekend warrior, I mean, great, love them, awesome. I'm kind of one of those too right now, but not all that interesting. But meet somebody who is committed, incredibly interesting. I've never been really interested in religious life. Religious life has never interested me. Religious people don't interest me. Church-going people don't interest me. Now, I'm a churchgoer. In many ways, I am religious, so I like to think I'm interested myself, but I'm talking about that sort of brand of this is what I do for spirituality. I go attend the Crossroads once a week and or this is what I do. A Bible verse a day keeps the devil away. Or this is what I have my system, and then I live whatever I want to do all the rest of the time, but I have my religious system, my thing. That never is very interesting to me because you can be very religious and not be committed. You're just doing this thing, but that's not a through line that goes through your life that governs everything in your life. I'm actually starting to adopt a different kind of word for myself. You might be surprised by it. The more I think about it, I'm embracing legalism. Now, if you know around church circles, religious circles, you know that's an awful, awful word. Like, it is an awful word if you think legalism is about inventing certain things that you think God likes. Like, God's never said anything about chewing tobacco, and I just had a chew this morning, and I enjoyed it very, very much. So I'm probably not a legalist because I use chewing tobacco, but I tell you what, there's a lot of things that I am just legalistic about entirely. It's awesome. I've had a number of people say to me, one just this last week, it started me thinking, like, why do people keep asking this? One of the questions I get regularly is, hey, you're just one of the most free people I know. You just seem so free. You seem not carry stress. You just seem to be not having things hold you down. Like, how do you do that? Well, what is your secret? This guy asked me this last week, and I was like, what? I don't know. I never know what to say to that question. Now I'm starting to feel stupid. I don't know what to say to the question. So I actually did some introspection. I'm like, okay, what is my answer to that? And my answer is I legalistically believe the Bible. Like Jesus says, don't worry about tomorrow because tomorrow will have enough worries for its own. I take that as a legalistic absolute, and so I do not worry about tomorrow. I'm legalistic about it. Now, I've got a few things in my life going that, if I told you what it is right now, there would be a collective gasp in here. You go, I have some heavy, heavy things that are going on and are maybe around the corner. I'm not going to tell you about it because you're going to be freaked out about it. And I'm not freaked out about it at all. You know why? Because it hasn't happened yet. That's why. Because I'm a legalist. Jesus tells me, don't worry about anything that's not happening today. Think about things. You can have some healthy plan, but no, I don't have scenarios in my mind of, oh no, what if this, I just don't. I'm a legalist with that. And man, it makes me feel free. I'm committed. One of the goals I had this year that I haven't been doing very well with is I've wanted to pray on my knees for a half hour every day. I have other things I do to pray throughout the day and stuff like that, but one of my blocks is I wanted to do a half hour on my knees, like either 30 minutes continuous or 15 in the morning, 15 at night or something like that. And I got to the point where I said, if I looked at the first few months of the year, and I actually was able to put an X on the calendar for how many days did I do literally 30 minutes, I would not like what the calendar would look like. So I decided, let's get legalistic here. So I pull up my phone, and I set a timer. I put it on the ground, I face down, and I pray. Whatever posture I am, I pray. And I'm like, how much longer? I look at it, I put it back down, and I keep going. I'll tell you what, now I've been legalistic on that goal, like timing myself, I feel the fruit of having better communication with God. It's not even uncomfortable for people here right now. It's not at all. It's not legalism like I'm trying to earn God's favor legalism. It's just like, no, when I'm committed to talking, I'm committed to that. And I feel the levity and the beauty of it because of that. Whatever you're committed to is going to define your life. Whatever you're committed to is going to bless your life or it's going to curse your life. But make no mistake about it, if you're not committed to something, you will not be interesting and you will not add value. You might have had breakfast this morning, you might have had bacon and eggs. Let me tell you something. The chicken was involved, the pig was committed. He laid his life down. Jesus was committed for us. Let me just get in that right now. That's a cheesy preacher thing. It's been around for a long, long time. I can't believe you guys haven't heard that because I've never said that in 22 years because I haven't been embarrassed to say it. There, I just said it. Hope it helps you. There you go. Voila. But it's what we're committed to that makes us interesting. Psychology Today had an article recently that said, meeting colleagues in a new office setting can be as simple as placing articles on your desk or hanging pictures on the wall that represent your hobbies or interests. What they're basically saying is this: when you show that you are interesting, people might be interested. What is there in your life that is interesting? What are you committed to? The things you're committed to are the things that make you interesting, no matter what it is, no matter what it might be. Jesus says in Luke 19:10, for the Son of Man came to seek and save that which was lost. That's why he's so magnetic. That's why he's so world-changing. Teachers, moral teachers have been around forever and ever, but he laid down his life. He got strung up on a cross and didn't run away from it. He laid down his life. It was that commitment, his interest in your eternity and my eternity. His interest is what makes him so interesting. It's also why we do Go Local around here. Excited about this next week of Go Local projects. Are we excited? Are we getting fired up to go serve our communities? Why would we cancel services, cancel the opportunity to pass a bag and take out more money? Well, because we're committed to removing every roadblock from you, every single roadblock possible to get you in your communities to serve and bless our communities. And guess what? Those of us who are committed, we're serving Go Local, you're going to be the most interesting people to talk to. Your neighbor's going to be like, where did you go today? What did you do? Oh, I'll tell you what I did. Really? Why would you do that? Who puts that on? Where do you get the money for all that? How do you choose the organizations? What organization did you do? Oh, you did all that. The questions will come out because people say, wow, you actually didn't go to church. You actually didn't do whatever you're doing on Thursday night because you're going to serve XYZ. You become interesting because you are committed. You're committed. You're in. The least committed people are always the least interesting people. But those who are committed have something of value to offer, something that intrigues us. I thought I was original with this outline of being interested and interesting, and then I found out, or I was reminded rather, by my good friend Mark Stetcher, who's one of our community pastors in the Lexington area, that this is a thing that he's built into his kids, and he's worked on this a lot. And here's one of the things that Mark says. He says, you are transferring currency when you ask questions and you tell people that they're interesting and you're interested in them. You are taking some of what you already have and you're investing it in someone else. One of Mark's favorite questions, and we're going to do this in just a moment, is what is the most interesting thing about you and what were the conditions? What's the most interesting thing about you and what were the conditions? He asked that once to one woman I know, and she said, the most interesting thing about me, she said, probably be I signed my divorce papers on a checkerboard at Cracker Barrel. And he's like, what are the conditions? Why? Why is it? How? Yeah, that's. And then she went on and talked about her former husband was a drug addict and abusive, and just the state where she was, she had to get it done. I mean, it was a matter of life and death, and right there, boom, it was a memory in her mind. You hear her talk that? All of a sudden, you have a layer of understanding of an individual, maybe of understanding God because of that. So, we're going to do that right now.
Okay, so we're gonna have an opportunity right now to practice doing the chaser with whoever you're sitting next to, whoever's in the room with you. If you're by yourself, maybe you're streaming on Facebook, you can do this right in the comments on Facebook or pull out your phone and group text your friends. But we're going to practice having a conversation with other people about what we're learning in church right now and what we're experiencing together. So you're gonna have 30 seconds to do this, and here's your question. It is, what is the most interesting thing about you? What's the most interesting thing about you? You have 30 seconds. You're gonna answer this question, and then we're gonna head right back into the message.
All right. Hey, I got to give it up to everybody at Crossroads. You guys have done amazing with these little interactions. Really, really great job. Now, I bet one of the hard things about answering that question might not have been that you had a hard time thinking about what's interesting for you. It might have been you just had a hard time talking about you. It might be that you're a very humble person. And that may be, and that'd be cool, but I want to give you a little tweak on what humility is. That's my final thing I want to talk about. Interesting people and people who are interested are humble. I wish I could have got another C word in here. I got the curious, committed thing I couldn't find to go with. You're humble. Humble people, humility is not about thinking less about yourself. It's thinking about yourself less. Humility is not thinking less about yourself, it's thinking about yourself less. Humility is not about, oh, I'm a loser, oh, shucks, I'm really no good at anything. I'm not interesting at all. No, it's not that. It's just that you don't go around during the day and think about yourself all that much. You think about others, you think about God. And so when you're humble, you're able to ask questions because you're not trying to bring attention to yourself. You're not trying to bring the party to yourself. You want to know about people. And so when you're humble, you're honestly wanting to know about them. You want them to talk because their answers tell you something about themselves and maybe even something about you. This is key. It is virtually impossible to have a friendship with a narcissist. It is. It's virtually impossible to be with someone who is so filled with pride. You can work with them because maybe they'll help you in your job or something like that. But in terms of when someone is filled with pride and all about elevating themselves and thinking about themselves all the time, you just can't you can't have a great relationship. And by the way, maybe this is why you have a hard time making friends. Maybe you're more prideful than you think. Things that make you go, Yeah. Philippians chapter 2, verse 3-4 says this, do nothing from selfish ambition or conceit, but in humility count others more significant than yourselves. Let each of you not look only to his own interests. Don't just be interested in yourself, but also the interests of others, and therefore you might be interesting. Actually, it doesn't say that in the Bible. I'm not trying to add words to the Bible, but you see the interest thing actually is in the Bible. But here's the big thing I want us to center in on. Count others more significant than yourselves. I think that's interesting. Count others more significant than yourselves. You might be more significant than somebody else. Somebody is more significant. Somebody is more important. I'm sorry, it is true. Some of us are more important than others. No, really. No, I'm not saying who is. I'm just going, that's why the Bible says count yourself. Count yourself. Look at yourself that way. So what does it say? Let's say a stay-at-home parent, maybe a stay-at-home mom, since it's Mother's Day, but parents stay home too, other genders. But so let's just say it's other genders. There's only one other gender. We'll probably change that too. But nonetheless, let's say a stay-at-home mom interacts with a multinational CEO. Count others better. So what does this look like is the corporate CEO will go, man, when I'm dead and gone, all the digits, all the things that I've gone and done, they're all going to be done, but she's building into something that's going to keep living when I'm dead because she's building into people. I'm going to count myself less significant than her. And what she does is she goes, I could get on my high horse and I'm doing something, but the fact of the matter is that guy there is enabling thousands of people to have paychecks to put food on the table for their kids. So I'm going to count it. I'm going to consider myself less significant than them. See, they're both doing that. And whenever you interact with somebody, no matter how much money you have, no matter what your college education is or what it isn't, or how much PhDs you have, or if you're on welfare, or whatever it is, you figure out a way to count yourself less than the other person that helps you be interested in the other person. And in the process, you become interesting. And in the process, you become like Jesus. That's who someone wants to be around. All right, we're going to have a really cool thing to do at all of our campuses, but first I'm going to pray for us right now. God, I know I don't have to count myself less than you. I know I am less than you. I know that I am, and I'm thankful for it. I'm not worthy to even be talking about some of the things we're talking about today because you are so vast and so good. And I know you've given us the blessing of people around us. Help us to reflect you to the people around us and to see you in the people who are reflecting back to us. I pray for these skills. I pray for them to take root in this thing called Crossroads in the side of all of our lives. I pray these things according to your name, Jesus. Amen.
Well, hey, I loved experiencing Crossroads with you this weekend. And the way that we can get the most out of life is to experience it with other people because our community shapes us. And so if you want to find other people, you can do that by getting involved in the church. Just go to crossroads.net, click on Get Involved, and meet some people in the midst of your own community. We'll see you back in 2 weeks for the People Skills series. But remember, next week is Go Local, no services. So head out into your neighborhoods and be a blessing to the people that you live near and you work near. And we'll see you back in 2 weeks.